to let go of this emotion easily and effortlessly. Just need to learn from that event, so that when you apply those learnings in the future, they will assist you. Just need to learn.
Things aren't in my control.
It's not in your control. That's right. So what's the positive learnings you can take from all of that?
To accept that.
Accept that's not in your control. Perfect. That's perfect, Steph. Just accept that's not in your control. What else?
Things just happen.
Things just happen. It happens all the time. Things just happen. What else?
He made the choice. He had no choice.
And what's the positive learning for you when he made that choice? What's the positive learning that you can take about your future?
To make conscious decisions and to just know that sometimes it's the decisions you make are hard, but you still have to make them.
Beautiful. What a beautiful learning. To make conscious decisions that are hard, you still have to make them. What else is there to learn about yourself?
So I need to just let go.
So do that now, Steph. Do that now. Just let it go. Just let it go. Did you do that?
Yeah.
What's the ultimate positive learning that you can take away from all of that about yourself?
It's my choice that what I allow to affect me and how I allow things to affect me.
That's right. It's completely your choice. The ball's with you. You make the choices. You decide. What else? emotion there, or has it disappeared now for that particular event?
Feels like it's gone.
Let's double check. We want to make sure. I want you to go right into the event. Let's go right into the event. Let's check. Is it there or has it gone?
Yeah, it's gone.
Perfect. Come all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, even higher. Now I want you to go to the next event after that one, the very next event after that one, where you felt that emotion of anger. Let me know when you're there.
Yeah.
Good. Now as you look down at that event, I want you to remember that you choose how you allow things to affect you. And some things are just not in your control. And as you look down at that event, I want you to ask your subconscious mind, what else is there to learn from that particular event? About yourself.
I just feel that even that event I can feel for what it was.
Perfect. So what I want you to do is see it for what it was, let it go. And when you've done that, let me know. Good. So now what I want you to do is continue your journey all the way back to now, passing over every event where you felt that emotion of anger. Remember it. See things for what they are. Just let them go. Choose how you allow to see things. Accept that some things are just not in your control. That you can always make conscious decisions to get through everything. So take your time, preserve all the positive learnings, let go of the emotion, and then continue your journey. If at any point you get stuck, let me know. We're back at now?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what I'd like you to do, in your own time, in your own pace, just when you're ready, nice and comfortable to do so, just allow those eyes to just open nice and wide. That's right. So now let's just check to see how you went. What I want you to do is I want you to, let's check that one that you remembered when you were 12.
Yeah.
And as you remember that event, is that emotion of anger still there or has it gone now?
It's gone.
Wonderful. So now I want you to pick another event altogether, another one altogether. And I want you to put that event in the future. And when you put it in the future, can you feel that emotion of anger? You might find that you don't.
No, not at all.
Wonderful. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
Good.
I feel all that stuff that was stored in my back, sort of like gone and still releasing.
Oh wow, did you have a sore back?
I just constantly had that, like, I don't know, I sort of see it as loads of little anchors stuck, constantly pulling in my back, but I feel like they've all sort of been taken out.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Well
feels
done.
good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So, yeah, leave it on because I'll just do a debrief. Thank you so much for taking the courage to do that.
No, thank you for doing
That
it.
was very courageous. It takes courage to volunteer because you don't know what's going to come up for you. If you have a look at the demos of the ones that I did in St. Louis, and there were a couple of trainers, and they're both male as well, they really had a lot to release emotionally. It was a big, big release for them. So it takes courage because you don't know what's going to come up for you in terms of that level of emotion. So I hope you're going to have,
That's fantastic.
your back's going to be nice and
Yeah.
strong now.
Yeah.
No anchors in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. Good
Thank
job. So there's a couple of things there that I wanted to tell you. So even though Steve said age 12, that was just more like a backup for me, just so that he could definitely go somewhere. But you see, he went to the age of 2. Okay? And the reason I do that is because, not all the time, but sometimes when you ask a client to go back, they're lost. And so at least if you get them to go somewhere, they're not lost. So he went to the age of 2 anyway. So that was a fairly straightforward one. If you want to see some that, a little bit more complicated in terms of resistance, like I said, on the Hypnosis Business Success page, right at the top, I've put it as a headline one, is, oh no, it's not as a headline one, but there's so many, there's heaps that take quite a while to shift. But that was a fairly simple one. So, what else did I want to say about that? So with the emotion of anger, once you've eliminated it, what that means now is that because you haven't got that stored anger inside of you, the next time a situation occurs, you're not going to feel the same that you used to. So even things like getting stuck in traffic or things that used to previously bother you and frustrate you will no longer have that same impact on you. Doesn't mean that we turn our clients into machines and they don't experience the emotion of anger anymore. It just means that the baggage is gone, and so forth, the impact is less. So next time an event comes up, he will either be totally okay with it, or he might get a little bit frustrated and then just let it go.
Yeah, I've been trying to get rid of that for a long time, and I've had a lot of anger and violence, how I used to live my life in the past. This has just, there was always something about lots of therapy, I've tried lots of methods, and this was the final thing, which I feel that it clicked. While you were telling me, it all just clicked into place. So there was like no resistance. I've wanted this for a long time. So once you've given me that.
Fantastic,
Yeah,
I love that,
yeah.
I love it. And he just told me something, the fact that he was the very first person here today. He was up here from 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We virtually walked into the room at the same time.
Yeah.
So just that, it meant he was ready for change. And so, and that's what you get with clients, is that you get them at that point where when you have dealt with the most difficult and complex of cases and it's released, you just know for a fact that no matter who walks into your office, no matter what issue, you can do it, okay? It's just a knowing that you have. And that's why, when he came, did we talk about this at all?
No, not at all.
We didn't talk about it at all. And I don't ask anybody what their issues are or anything. I just trust, know, expect, believe that the right person's always in the room. The right person is always in the room, always, okay? So, any questions about this demo that you've just seen?
Just love how you did it with hypnotherapy, the timeline therapy.
Yes, so that's a good point. So when you're taught to do timeline therapy, what they actually say is you just get the client to close their eyes. That might work for a percentage of clients, and it could even be 50% of clients. But from my experience, it's not enough.
Yeah, true.
It is not enough to just get them to close their eyes. You need to get them. There are highly analytical people who are constantly thinking. You need to get them in hypnosis. Okay? You can see when Steve opened his eyes, they were red, the bloodshot. I mean, his hands were so heavy, I could not lift it. So if his hands were not heavy, if he helped me raise his hands, I would have then taken him deeper and deeper until I got the state that I wanted. But I could tell I didn't even need to say anything. He was there. So there wasn't much work that I needed to do with Steve to get him into that state. He was already in that state.
I noticed you got him in, but there wasn't any taking him out. There was just open your eyes.
Yeah, he didn't really need to. He was fine. He was back. So with timeline therapy, you don't need to count up like you do with deep trance. He was okay. And I put the suggestion when he's ready and comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
He was ready to open his eyes. And the reason why I didn't want to count him up also is because I still wanted to test it. So I didn't start talking to those two tests were actual part of the process. So it was a testing process as well. And then that's when I spoke to him in a conversation type mode. Okay, so I wasn't going to talk to him conversationally until I made sure that he passed those two tests. If he still felt the emotion, either of those two tests, we would have gone back.
Yeah.
Not gone back to the original event, because that was released. That we tested that, we checked it. But gone back to the event that he had in his mind, which didn't pass the test. So that's the kind of detail I take you through in detail at my retreat, word for word.
Do you do that in a 1 hour session? So you book in a 1 hour session for each? Or as long as it takes?
No, not as long as it takes. And this is a conversation I have with a lot of hypnotherapists. You need to control the session, and it's not as long as it takes, it's about how you control the session. So first session, which is the exploration questioning session, usually, but not always, takes about 90 minutes. The first session, usually. With adolescents, no, about 60 minutes. They don't have that much of a life to go through. But there's an exception. There's always exceptions. Second session takes about 75 minutes on average, I found, because what you didn't see, what I would normally do with the client is, first of all, what I would do is ask him about his tasks, which I've given at the end of the first session, and then I would introduce what we're going to be doing, giving him a definition of what anger means, my definition. Again, I do all that in the retreat, exactly what anger means. And I would have already also given him dot points of events that he had previously said in his previous session related to anger. So I would have said to him, so Steve, during this session we're going to be removing the events when you were 13 and you were hit by your dad, when you were 10 and this happened, 12, and anything else that may come up for you. Okay? Anything else, just trust your subconscious mind. I would have given him a couple of pointers in terms of how he needs to be during the session, a couple of pointers, and set up his timeline, practice going up and down the timeline, and then doing the emotion of anger. All of that for the second session takes quite a bit of time, so usually 75 minutes. After that, about an hour. So after that, about an hour. After that, we're set, and we work for about an hour with all the other sessions. So this session, where there's a lot more that I do in the actual session, takes about 75 minutes. Okay? Mm-hmm. Any other questions about that? All good? Yes?
So if he did get stuck anywhere, or he pulled up huge emotions, what would you do differently?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that you do according to what's happened. And again, I do that at the retreat in detail because there's a lot. So for instance, if he experienced, the question that you asked me is if he experienced an abreaction, I would get him higher and higher and higher and higher until the emotion disappears. So it just depends what would have happened. There's a lot of things that could happen in a session: resistance, abreactions, all sorts of things. Not letting go for whatever reason.
Going to
Would
past
you go
life.
more into the scene if
It depends. Again, there's so much to that. It depends. It depends exactly what was happening there. But you can have a look at. I've got a lot of demonstrations on my YouTube channel. Have a look at complicated ones. Kylie was a good one that I did just a couple of weeks ago. One called Kalantha Chan was excellent. It took about an hour, that demo. It was really good.
So what was it called?
The lady that I did it on, her name is Kalantha Chan.
Kalantha Chan.
Yeah. I give her as an example in your online. You've got it in your online system. And another one's Fiona from Perth. She was a brilliant one because she felt it in the body.
Yeah, that
She
was a
actually,
good one.
She was actually choking. So what I did then, because it was in her neck, and what I did at that point, because she was choking, she couldn't breathe. So there's a lot that you can have a look at. So thank you very much. See ya. Bye.